What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I've got for you some classic entitled people stories. Now, the first one was originally posted over 5 years ago, back, of course, in 2019. However, just a few days ago, at the time of recording, we got an update. So that's why I'm bringing you this story. Without further ado, sit back, relax, make sure you drop a like on this episode if you're going to enjoy it, and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Here we go. I pay rent, so I own this house. Backstory. My parents used to own a house on a big bit of land. When my older siblings went away for college, the house felt too big for our needs. So my parents decided to sell the house, but not all the land. They built a smaller house on the part of the land they didn't sell. A few years afterwards, we moved to a city 2 hours away and kept the house as a place to go during the summer. My parents decided to rent the house as it was well located and had a really nice view. Renting it meant that they could use the money towards the mortgage and taxes. Enter our Karen. Karen and her boyfriend rented the place so she could be closer to her work. From the start, my dad made it clear. The place was for rent, and my parents planned on living in that house after retiring. At that time, both of them planned to work for at least another 20 years. They would of course notify Karen in advance when they wanted to take back the house, so she'd have plenty of time to find a new place. In return, they asked that she notify them in advance should she wish to move out so they could find a new renter. The lease also stated that my parents would have some of their things in a locked storage in the basement as well as in a shed on the property, and that they would always call Karen before dropping by to get something out of the storage, which was in the basement and connected by the garage, so they wouldn't even disturb Karen. For a few years, Karen was an okay renter. She paid the rent through a check each month. Yeah, she smoked inside and didn't take care of the land, but my dad didn't make a fuss about it. The real trouble started after around 12 years. Every few months, Karen's checks would bounce back. My dad would call her to ask about it. Karen would profusely apologize and rectify the situation. Then it became every other month, until it was every month. Finally, my dad had enough and called her about the lease and the rent. During the call, Karen argued that since she had been paying rent for the past 12 years, the house was now hers. My dad was shocked since that came out of nowhere. He tried to explain to her that she was renting the place like they'd agreed since the beginning. Karen went on a female dog fit about how she'd paid so much over the years and she was the one living there and taking care of the place, which she wasn't at all, and therefore it should be hers. She threatened to take my dad to court. Now, where I live, there are many laws which protect the renter, and it can be a real female dog to deal with when you have a nasty renter. My dad hired a lawyer to make sure everything was in order. After a meeting with Karen, where the lawyer was present, she realized she didn't have much of a case, since all paperwork concerning the house was in my dad's name, and the original lease clearly stated it was a rental. My dad offered to her to stop renting, should she wish, after the whole debacle, but she actually wanted to stay in the house. He made her sign a new lease, where it stated, again, that this was a rental, and that should she not pay or cause trouble again, my dad would give her the shortest possible notice of eviction allowed by the law. Karen is still renting the house after almost 20 years. My parents are not close to retiring yet. I do hope it won't turn into a trash show when they decide to take back the house. Okay, now before we get into the 5-year update on this one, OP firstly did leave this comment below the original post saying, the question, why did your dad let her sign a new lease, has come up a lot from you guys, the people of Reddit, asking down below. So this is what I will say. 1, I don't have the slightest clue why. As I was a kid, I was a lot younger when this happened, I wasn't really kept in the loop much. It was also not the reaction I'd expect my dad to have, since he is very respectful to others and expects the same in return. Secondly, I do know the legal actions he took when she threatened to take him to court did protect himself and many future problems that might arise. I do appreciate all the concerns and the advice, although I do think my dad had a good reason to keep her as a tenant from hell after everything that went down. Okay, very interesting last line here, and I don't really understand it. Surely your dad didn't have a good reason to keep her as a tenant. Like, I kind of get it. Like, maybe at the start it was fine and, you know, money was coming in and yeah, it was a little bit of effort eventually, but like she was paying most of the time. But then surely by this point, when it's getting as ridiculous as this and you're having to chase her every single month, And then on top of that, you're getting her threatening you to go to the police or whatever about it and make it into a real issue. Surely at that point, it's worth the extra effort to say, okay, you're done. Let's get another renter in. I know landlords don't like the turnover of having new renters, but when it's someone like this, that makes no sense to me at all. Surely you'd get her gone. I don't know. I'm not your dad, OP. Just makes the most sense to me. However, the beauty of your dad continuing to have her as a renter, as a tenant, is that we got this update 5 years later, posted just 3 days ago at the time of recording. Okay, so here we go. Here is the update. OP says this is an update of a post from 5 years ago. Some people asked in the comments what was going on, and there has been new developments in the last few months. So here is the timeline. Since the beginning, there was a mutual agreement between Karen and my parents that they would both give a 6-month notice before she moved out, or my parents would like to take back the house. So let's move forward to the last week of June 2024. My dad received a phone call from a representative of Karen. Due to her financial circumstances, she was giving a month's notice before moving out. My parents were surprised by the short notice, of course, but didn't actually really mind it as they were looking forward to taking back the place. Skip forward to the last week of July. Karen was set to move out, but then asked for a week extension as she couldn't find anybody to help her move. My parents agreed. She was now set to move out by August the 3rd. Skip forward to August the 4th. With the car all loaded up, with essentials, dinnerware and cutlery, small furniture, we left for our first trip to the house. The plan was to look at the state of the place, clean up a little bit, and take measurements for the remodeling my parents are planning. As we get to the place, we notice a small sign in the driveway to advertise for a garage sale at the house. We figured she'd forgotten to take it down, but we were wrong. As we get to the house, we can see boxes and furniture through the windows. Cue the shocked Pikachu face as she answered the door. It turns out she hadn't moved out yet, and she meant to call my dad to let him know, but of course she never did. She clearly didn't expect us to drop by so soon after her supposed moving date. My parents were both extremely annoyed, but they gave her an additional week and expectations of payments for the week she overstayed. Your parents, by the way, are extremely lenient. I mean, I'm pretty sure other landlords would say, no, you're done. Like, just get out or I'm calling the police. You're now 2 weeks overdue. Pay us for those 2 weeks and GTFO. But no, your parents apparently are too nice for that. Let's move forward. Honestly, it's bordering on like genuinely being too nice to the detriment of them. Like, there's being nice and then there's kind of getting walked over. Let me know in the comments, by the way, guys, what you think about that one. But yeah, August the 18th now, let's move forward a couple of weeks. My parents received the confirmation that she left the week she was supposed to. They had a neighbor drop by to make sure her things were really gone, but we didn't have the time to make the trip until a week after. We found the place in a much better shape than we expected. Of course, it's not in perfect condition, as it clearly has the wear and tear of a place that's been lived in for years. It needs a good cleanup, some fresh paint in most of the rooms, and a lot of work on the land. There's also plans of remodeling a bit to make an additional room on the first floor, so my parents don't have to go up the stairs all the time. So, turning over a new leaf. This ends the whole chapter. My parents got the summer house back years before they expected, and although the renter was difficult until the end, she mostly went away without all the trouble we expected. My parents are happy to take back the place and are looking forward to all the projects they have for it. They've been almost every week to clean and sort through the things we had stored there. My dad did a fresh paint of coat in some of the rooms, and they're looking for furniture. My brother went once and started to clear up some of the trees to get back the awesome view we used to have from the kitchen. My dad bought an old lawn tractor to help with the yard work and is excited like a little boy with a new shiny toy. We'd like to get the place cleaned and ready to hopefully spend Christmas camping there, as we most likely won't have a lot of furniture yet. Okay, fair enough. Maybe I was wrong actually there. Maybe the best course of action was what your parents did. Just being lenient, trying to make as little fuss as possible, perhaps in the knowledge that if they were really aggressive and, told Karen, like, actually, this is ridiculous, get out, that potentially could have caused a lot more drama than just doing what they did in the end and saying, you know what, fine, maybe we don't get paid for these couple of weeks, maybe she stays for a little bit longer, maybe it's more annoying in the short term, but long term, it's better if she just goes. I don't know. I'm still sort of the belief that she should have been kicked out a long time ago. She seemed like a bad tenant. But yeah, what do you guys think in the comments down below? Do you think OP's parents were just way too lenient here? Or ultimately, they were able just to have sort of one tenant the whole duration of the time they were renting the house, which is always a good thing. You know, they didn't have to do that much work, and overall, it wasn't that annoying. I'm not sure. I think it would have been horrible and a lot of stress, but if they were able to manage it, which they seem to, then who am I to say that was a bad thing? Okay, now moving on to our next Entitled People story. Group admin removed me without warning, then reached out asking for a free trip. So this happened a few years ago during COVID. I don't remember which year, when I worked as a deckhand and lifeguard on a snorkel excursion boat. I'm a freediver, and on occasion also spearfish, albeit rarely. A little before COVID, my friend, who is a photographer, added me to a dive group she's part of. I was excited, as I didn't have many diving buddies and didn't like diving solo, so I thought I might make some new dive buds. My partner and I live with his parents, and his mother is super high risk for complications, so we were pretty strict about COVID precautions and social distancing. I decided to join one of the dive days with about 7 other people in the dive group. I figured it would be easy to social distance. It was my first time meeting these people, aside from my original friend. Before we even got in the water, I started to realize they might not be my kind of people. I tried to meet people, but most weren't interested in chatting with me. They made a circle to talk, and I ended up standing awkwardly on the outside, uninvolved, because they were almost shoulder to shoulder, and I needed to social distance. I tried to be involved in the topics, but it felt like cool story bro kind of thing, so I just kind of stopped trying. Well, after that dive, I decided I'd likely wait till COVID passed more to dive with them, unless it was fewer than 3 people, since none of them took any precautions. I still check in on the group a few times a week, in case something small was planned and I felt like joining, but most times it was larger groups or scheduling didn't align. Since I was reading the chats, I learned a bit more about this group, mainly that many in the group are vegan. They didn't like me asking if anyone would like to join a spearfishing session. A quarter to a half of them were anti-vax, that most were either photographers or influencers. I did have a few good friends in the group, but I'd met them prior to the group. I worked on the boat 3 days a week, but my captain wanted to hire another person to work the other 2 to 3 days a week. So I offered up the job in the dive group, since I knew mostly everyone could free dive the minimum 40 feet required for the job. Only one person was interested, but scheduling didn't work out. The admin of the group, we will call Maisie, ended up removing me from the group without warning. I didn't find out till I tried to find the chat and it was gone, so I asked her about it. She said she removed me because I wasn't participating in dives right now. I told the group I was only going to do 2 to 3 man dives till vaccines were available and or COVID was less of a concern. This was because most of the dives had been larger groups or scheduling issues, so yeah, I hadn't been participating much. She said she needed to make room for people to join the group that wanted to and that would actually participate. Ouch, but okay, fair. Sorry, I gotta interject here. That's not fair. Why is there a limit on a group chat? Like, that's not a thing. It doesn't make any sense. Let's carry on. I thought the fact that she didn't tell me when she did it was weird, but I just moved on since I still had my prior friends. Now, I never told them I also run the social media page for the boat company I work for. And a few days after getting booted from the group, I get a message to our company's social media from Maisie. Is she inquiring about the available position we need filled to help us get more business and survive COVID? Nope. She wants a free half-day excursion to the neighboring island in return for exposure, telling us how her followers will be booking our trip and she'll bring a boost of profits by promoting us. I can't say I was surprised. Disappointed? Yeah. I don't remember exactly what I wrote back to her, but this is the closest I can recollect. Hello, thanks for reaching out to our company. Unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions, our capacity has been cut in half to adhere to social distancing requirements. This has led to our demand rising, since what we could previously accommodate in one excursion must now be split into 2 trips a day at max capacity restrictions. You promised that exposure will increase our bookings, but without a contract showing hard numbers and an agreement to reimburse us if projections fall short of the agreed amount, we cannot warrant a free half-day excursion for exposure over a paying guest. we're also short-staffed and only able to operate 3 days a week at this time, limiting our income even more under the already financial strain of COVID. Local businesses dealing with these setbacks is widely known about, and we find it in bad taste to request free excursions or products from small businesses under this well-known strain. We can offer you a resident discount, but that's all. We hope you decide to support small businesses in this time. However, we understand that COVID has put financial strain on all. We do have positions open to apply for if you've had trouble finding work and making ends meet in these hard times. She never responded, and I never talked to or saw her again. About 6 months to a year later, the COVID restrictions lightened a bit for travel, and our location was drowning in tourists. Our already high demand skyrocketed, and we were doing 3 to 4 trips a day, nearly back to back, because we were still short-staffed. I busted my butt, and I made bank. I was able to save up for a big purchase a few years faster than planned, and all I could think about was how if she'd taken up the job offer instead of asking for free stuff, they'd have a great job on the water and be making some great money. Well, that right there, in my opinion, ladies and gents, is the problem with influencers or people that call themselves influencers. Like, let's be honest, I don't think anyone that has any self-respect that is in sort of content creation or is sort of an Instagrammer or something like that calls themselves an influencer. I think they just use a different word. I think right now, like influencer, the term, has so many negative connotations because of people like this and people doing things like this that I would just never want to be like, sort of painted with that brush. I just call myself personally like a content creator or just media person because, you know, although in theory, yes, if you have a following, you can influence, and therefore I suppose you are an influencer. Like the term is just so disgusting because of people like this. And yeah, to ask for free stuff, I suppose is fine. For exposure, I'm not 100% anti it. You know, if someone does have a following, then it can actually be worth it. But you know, it depends on the individual, of course, and what they're actually offering. But to do it during COVID as well, when you know full well that everyone is struggling, and obviously a business that is run by, well, tourism, people physically being on the boat and doing stuff like that, like that obviously cannot run during COVID, is going to be struggling. Yeah, that's I agree with OP. That is in really poor taste. And the fact of the matter is, and what makes this great and potentially, yeah, good karma, is that you've made a load of money and she probably hasn't. I don't know. She might have done. It's just unlikely, let's be honest. But yeah, if she had just taken you up on the job offer and said, you know, actually, yeah, I could do some work through COVID, then she'd be doing unreal right now, and most likely she's not. I mean, the thing is, in general, and this is what, like, I don't think I've ever actually, that's not true. I have had some free stuff given to me before, but it's always as part of like a deal where they get something back, the company. I think the best thing to do is, if you are like an influencer and you want free stuff, which is fine, like you can get free stuff, have some sort of agreement in which like you will hit a certain number of affiliate links, or, you know, you will send a certain amount of traffic their way using your link. And if you don't hit that, then be prepared to sort of financially reimburse them for giving you the free stuff. I think that's fair. And if you back your audience to do that, and you back the fact that you are an influencer, then you should do that. Getting free stuff like this, or just demanding free stuff, yeah, I don't love it. Now for our last, but by far not least, Entitled People story of this episode. If you guys have been missing me doing a Karen voice, or just, you know, changing my voice up a little bit for some certain characters in these stories, then you're going to love this. Crazy entitled couple tries to run our delivery van off the road, then demands free catering. This happened sometime last year, but due to it being an open incident, I held off on sharing it until now. In late winter / early spring of last year, I got a call in from the delivery driver that someone had brake checked them on the main road into town, then sped off. Luckily, it was after delivery was completed, so nothing delicate was on board. I take down the plate, vehicle info, all the standard stuff for an incident of road rage. But before I can finish up the call, the brake checkers actually called in to our main office. Before I can complete the standard spiel, they immediately cut me off, screaming, "Hello, you've reached XYZ. Your jerk driver tried to run us off the road." Now, I know our driver. They are the least aggressive, most careful driver I've ever seen. They regularly deliver precarious items like wedding cakes without so much as disturbing them. If anything, they're too cautious. They're not running people off the road. Excuse me, sir, but I don't think our delivery van would have tried to run you off the road intentionally. Were you perhaps traveling in the vehicle's blind spot? There are warning signs on the delivery van to avoid lingering in blind spots when the driver signals. This is about as far as I get trying to be diplomatic. Then the entitled woman gets involved. Why are you defending this jerk? This is some minimum wage idiot that probably doesn't even belong in this country. Yeah, your driver tried to kill us, and you're making excuses? This is outrageous. Sir, ma'am, please calm down. I'm just trying to get to the bottom of things. Do you know who I am? I'll shut your whole operation down. You listen to me, you little R-word. You better be ready to give us some hefty compensation, or we'll take this to the police and we'll sue you. We have a party coming up, and if you'd agree to cater it for free, we might let this all go. I have no doubt the look on my face when I heard that out of the woman must have been one of the most exasperated faces I've ever made. At this point, I'm just pausing to try and process this bizarre demand. Hey, stupid, did you even hear what my wife was saying? Do you speak proper English? It's at this point I've had enough. I'd put the pieces together as soon as they complained about road rage. Are you license plate ABDC 12345 gold 4-door crossover? Are you the jerk, insert racial slur, driving that big stupid van? No, I'm not, but the driver called in you having brake checked him just before you called in. We just tried to stop the driver because he was a danger to everyone on the road. Well, we will see what the facts are once the vehicle's camera footage is reviewed. Our delivery vehicle is equipped with 360-degree recording. Just let me pull that up. BS, there's no such thing. Unluckily for him, there is. It's similar to the 360-degree Tesla cam. Unfortunately, you can't pull it up for situational awareness while moving over 20 kilometers per hour. Thanks whatever safety bean counter thought that needed to be locked out. I pull up the footage from the fleet management software, then proceed to see the gold car in question, not just travel in the blind spot, they were fully behind the vehicle, then sped up to try and cut it off when the driver turned on the signal to change lanes. Sir, I can clearly see that your wife in the driver's seat sped up after the driver signaled intent to change lanes, entering the vehicle's blind spot. Then, instead of slowing down when the vehicle started to change lanes, you kept trying to push up until you were forced onto the shoulder. No, that's not what... Don't interrupt. I can then clearly see you zip into the left lane, overtake the van, merge in front without signaling at an unsafe distance, then slam on your brakes. After reviewing this footage, I think it's a great idea to get the police involved. The woman then splutters and tries to come up with something to say, and the man then just says, "Hang up the phone, Karen." They disconnected the call, and I had a good laugh. Then I made an online police report. I'll bet their insurance premiums will never be the same again. In my opinion, right, it's just so stupid that these people didn't realize or didn't even think for 1 second that there's a pretty decent chance that this delivery van would have some form of camera, whether it's a dash cam, whether it's something that's more advanced. Like, it just feels like every sort of company van or car these days is likely to have some form of camera just to sort of protect itself in a situation like this. The fact that they're trying to just sort of con this company into getting free stuff is just very, very weird. I mean, even the fact that there could easily have just been a camera just on the road. I don't know where this took place, but I don't know. In England, for example, you're very likely to be on at least a camera, a traffic camera, if you're in like a popular place or like a, you know, not even a popular place, just like a city, for example. So who knows where this took place and whether that's different in the country that this took place in. If it's America, yeah, fair enough, it probably is different. But still, like, you just outright lying to try and get something for free. It's so dumb. And also, what they did was incredibly dangerous driving, and yeah, I'm sure that they will be charged for this. Anyway, guys, that is going to do it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, and you're new to the channel, as I said, make sure you are subscribed and you're following me on whatever platform you're listening to this on. Check out this episode if you want more right away, and I'll catch you all tomorrow with some more Reddit content.